Hey guys, my name is Kirby, and this is a new thing. For about 4 years now, I've been a pretty casual cosplayer, not really showing the process of making my cosplays and just wearing them for like Halloween and Fanime, which is local for me. But now that I've kind of made more costumes and I've gotten better at it, I'm feeling more ready to show my cosplays to the world and to the internet. So I'm filming, for the first time, a cosplay process video. Not really a tutorial, because, I guess I am going to be, going through everything that I'm doing, but I'm not really telling you how to do a thing. It's just telling you how I did the thing. So in this video, I'm working on my Transformers Generation 1 cartoon Soundwave helmet. And I'm starting off right here, just making a little paper mock-up, just to see how everything's gonna work, how everything fits together, as you can see me doing here. At this point, the helmet is just a little circle for the top of it, a strip of paper around it for the sides, and some other little paper shapes for the details. If you look closely, you can actually kind of see that this version of Soundwave has a bit of a bucket helmet like Megatron. Once I had a rough idea of what to do, I started working on a bigger mock-up out of paper, and this time I measured everything. All of the measurements of the smaller paper mock-up are half the size of the final product. It's really important to keep looking at reference pictures to make sure everything is scaled correctly. Also, I'm sorry I keep forgetting to move my camera down so you can actually see what I'm doing. Here I'm working on the little details on the sides of the helmet. I'm not really sure what to talk about in this section, so I guess I can talk about why I decided to cosplay Soundwave. The short answer is, his design is very square, which makes it easy to make out of cardboard. I also just really like Soundwave as a character. He's pretty much the only even remotely functional Decepticon, and he's also a good dad even though he's also literally a giant killer robot. Fun. You know what else is fun is the fact that I went through almost 3 full rolls of tape making just the paper mock-ups for the helmet. Finally you can kind of see it coming into shape. You know, this is actually one of the few times you will actually use the stuff you learn in math class in real life, aside from, money and stuff. But yeah, for making circles, you want to know pi. Yes, I know you can't see anything, I'm sorry. Making this was kind of like solving a puzzle, except with a lot more tape. Lots of tape. Here's some more of me putting tape on paper. It was kind of difficult for me to figure out how to make the pattern for the visor. I basically just guessed until I got it. And on the final product, you'll also see I had some trouble with it. You just gotta keep experimenting and working at it, and eventually you'll figure it out. Cosplay is all about just experimentation and using lots of reference images. You know, I really enjoy this because it means I get to look at lots of pictures of Soundwave without being judged for looking at lots of pictures of Soundwave. I have a folder on my computer titled Pics of Soundwave, and they are all glorious. Here's a fun fact that you probably already knew. Soundwave's head was the inspiration for the Decepticon insignia. You can kind of see it. It's pretty neat. Here I'm kind of expanding on the pieces on the side and making them 3D. I didn't add a lot of detail for the mock-up, but I just wanted to figure out how big they had to be. So at this point, those pieces are just rectangles. But later I will make them more curved and like the final shape, which you will see later in this video. I don't know what to talk about. Look at the wonderful picture of Soundwave on my phone. Here, I don't think you can tell yet, but I'm working on the mouth plate, and it was actually a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Took a lot of tries to figure it out. It's basically just some weird shapes taped together, which, to be fair, the entire cosplay is just weird shapes taped together, or hot glued. You get the point. Eventually I gave up and started working on the side pieces again. The mouth plate has a pretty abstract shape compared to the rest of the helmet, so it was pretty hard to make. I kept having to keep touching my phone to make sure it didn't go into sleep mode. Later I changed the settings on my phone so that it wouldn't do that as quickly. It's actually a really great feeling to see even just the mock-up as it comes together and you can start seeing how everything is going to look at the end. It's just very satisfying, and it's one of my favorite parts of cosplay. Here I'm working on making the crest on the forehead more 3D, which was important because it needs to fit properly with the visor. There is actually a lot that I need to figure out here, which is why making a mock-up is so important. So basically right now I'm just taping things to other things. I added in a bit of detail with a pencil, because why not? It actually helped me out later. And now back to the mouth plate. I basically just held the paper up to my face to help me figure out the shapes. It was still hard. It was easier since the rest of the helmet was done now and I could compare the size and shapes. Sometimes cosplay or art in general is like a test at school. It can be beneficial to go ahead and come back to the thing you're having trouble with later. I finally fit everything together, simplified the pattern, and cut it out. And then that pattern didn't work, so I modified it and tried again. Here's some tracing. And cutting. And taping. Yay! Once I finally figured it out, I decided to just tape the mouth plate into the helmet for now. This was harder than you would think. Then I just put on some final touches, like making sure everything was properly taped together, and here it is, here I'm done. After the half-sized paper mock-up was done, I started on the full-size paper mock-up. Yes, I did make 3 mock-ups, and I'm glad I did. I think all of them were actually necessary. When you don't know what you're doing, making mock-ups is the way to figure it out. I don't know why, but it's actually really fun to watch sped-up paper cutting. If you're wondering why I taped a Decepticon insignia on my shirt, it's because I'm a Decepticon.
Please note, that was a joke. While I do love most Decepticons as characters and I agree with some of their ideals, I do not condone Decepticon actions such as murder and torture. Now please don't kill me, Autobot.
So anyway, watch some more of me taping a thing to another thing. Actually, that's pretty much the content of this entire video. Me taping a thing to another thing. I don't know why you're still watching at this point. The printer paper I was using wasn't big enough to go all the way around my head, so I just taped 2 pieces together. When you're not quite sure exactly how big something needs to be, it helps to fold the paper before you cut it. When you're taping around the edges of a circle, or taping any curved thing for that matter, using long strips of tape doesn't work very well. You can either use small strips or cut part of the tape so it lays flat. I didn't realize until I started working on this cosplay how weird Soundwave's helmet looks without all the details on it. It's important to keep trying everything on while you're working on it to make sure you've got everything right. Here's the part where you can watch me struggle and not know how to do things. As you can see, it's the visor, an abstract curved shape that's hard to measure because it has no straight lines. I just tried a bunch of things until it worked. I don't know what to talk about here. You can't even see what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to angle everything towards the camera at all times, especially when the camera is facing me and not from my perspective. In case you're wondering what exactly I'm doing here, honestly, I'm not entirely sure. You know, while I'm editing this, I'm watching Transformers Animated, and in TFA, Soundwave is Megatron's son, and Laserbeak and Ratbat are Soundwave's sons, so Megatron's a grandpa. At least that's what my headcanon's gonna be. It was really important that I got the pattern for this side thingy right, because it became the pattern for the final product. Actually, this entire mock-up was the pattern for the final product, but that's beside the point. I just freehanded this part because, let's be real, what else was I gonna do? I used small pieces of tape to hold down the pattern while I was tracing it so I could get it to stay in place. I cut out 4 of this shape, 1 for the front and back of each side. Then I needed a shorter piece for the side of these thingies that I don't know what to call that's against the main part of the helmet, and a longer piece for the outer side. The longer piece has to be shaped around the curved edge of the thingy. How do I even describe this shape? You'll just have to watch. I'm really not sure what to put in these parts of the video where I'm doing a thing I already explained. Music, maybe? But, like, what music? It is pretty cool to watch these pieces come into shape. Especially with 3D things, because it starts out as just a flat piece of paper, and then it becomes an object that has, like, substance. And it's really cool. I hope that by watching this, you can get a better idea of how this thing is shaped. I would speed this up some more, but my video program has its limits, and, this is already hard enough as it is. The most difficult piece of paper to attach is the last one because you can't really get a grip on the paper to attach the tape. Fun challenge. Try watching this video and guessing which parts of me talking were scripted and which ones were not. That one was not. The next one is. That's all the hint you'll get. On the previous mock-up, I didn't bother to fill in the gap at the bottom of the thingies, but this time I did. It's just a rectangular piece of paper that I taped on. Right now, editing Kirby is just like, oh man, I'm barely more than halfway done. There's so much video here. But now thingy number 1 is done. Thingy number 2 is exactly the same, so I'll just skip it. Thingy number 2 is done. I already attached thingy number 1, so now you can watch me attach the second one. I had to be really careful to make them perfectly even. And here I'm trying it on. And it fits. And it's starting to look like the final product. And it's exciting! Onto the forehead crest that looks like the Decepticon insignia. Except that really the Decepticon insignia looks like it. As you can see, I'm drawing a rectangle to help me, but I'm freehanding the actual design itself. Again, I added details with pencil even though it's just the mock-up and I didn't really need to. If you're wondering why I always use anything except a ruler for this, it's because I can't find my ruler. It was pretty hard to figure out the shapes of the sides of the crest because it's not going to be taped onto a flat surface, so I had to accommodate for that. And here it's in front of the camera and you can't see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. But I'm just taping it on and figuring everything out. And in a little bit, in any second now, I'm going to try it on and position it while it is on my head so that I can see how it's going to look on me. And that's done. I actually accept the faceplate. I need to make the faceplate. So I'm doing that, and this part was very difficult. So here's me trying to enlarge my pattern that I already made, and this actually didn't work for the final product. I had to alter it because paper is a lot more flexible than cardboard, so I had a bit more leeway with the paper than I did with the cardboard. But for now it worked okay. And I ended up just taping it into the helmet again. It was actually pretty tough, and I had to keep repositioning and repositioning the tape until it was perfectly even. Then I tried it on and adjusted it some more so that I could actually see. I actually ended up having to cut parts of it so that it wouldn't block my vision as much. And then finally it was done. Now I'm just looking for my cool prescription sunglasses. I still have no idea how I'm going to make Soundwave's visor, so this is what I'm using for now. Once I was satisfied with the mock-up, I started cutting it apart. Now it's going to be used as the pattern for the final cardboard helmet. I took it apart as I went, so for now I'm just removing the top part. At the time of editing this video, I still haven't painted anything since I'm still too young to buy spray paint for another 26 days, so my Soundwave helmet still says priority mail on it. And yes, you heard that right, my birthday is coming up. I'm almost 18. That is exciting. I can't wait to go to the 18 plus panels at FanimeCon. The con I really want to go to is TFCon so I can wear my Soundwave cosplay, but that already passed, and I can't get there myself, so I'll just have to hope that by next year I'll be able to drive. Thank you, Transformers, for encouraging me to learn how to drive. I was about to say that life would be so much easier if Transformers were real, but let's be real, that is not true. And besides, self-driving cars are going to be a thing. Anyway, here I'm working on another part. I think this is the front of the helmet. Okay, here's the first and possibly only helpful piece of cardboard advice I'm going to give y'all. If you cut lines in just one layer of the cardboard between the little ridges, it'll bend and curve much more easily. Only problem is it's very tedious and takes a while. After this, I'll probably cut this out. Boom! And now we're done, and now it's time to hot glue everything together. Not tape, but hot glue. Your tape has evolved into hot glue! In fact, both tape and hot glue have their place. Tape is like the little cup of adhesives, as opposed to other Pokemon tiers. Yeah, I haven't fought a Pokemon battle in a long time, actually. Duct tape is really helpful for holding things together while you're actually gluing it. Fun fact, duct tape, although it's very strong, like it's made of a sturdy material, and yes, it sticks very well to itself. It's definitely seen as very sticky tape, but it's actually not particularly sticky. Like, it's strong, but it's not sticky, which actually helps a lot. You can see what I'm doing here, just cutting out the forehead crest on cardboard. I also cut out another piece of just the edges to glue on top of the previous piece to give it more detail, and it ended up looking pretty cool. With smaller pieces like this, it's way easier to just eyeball everything rather than making precise measurements. Oh, look at that, Past Kirby is jamming out. Now Past Kirby is continuing to cut things. Once I finished cutting out the detail piece, I glued it in place on top of the main piece. I'm pretty sure I'm looking for something here. Then I drew in some details with pen and actually went over it with hot glue to make some 3D designs. Here I'm picking out the hot glue strings. I measured the helmet to find the center and properly place the crest. I didn't glue it on immediately though, instead I moved on to the visor, which was a very difficult part. First I tried tracing my pattern, and I actually split it into 2 pieces so it would bend, but I did not like this version. I'm just gonna skip this part because it didn't end up being used in the final cosplay anyway. After a short break, I decided to start on the mouth plate. I tried something that I learned from Soundwave Cosplay, which is putting duct tape on things and tracing patterns directly on them. Soundwave Cosplay is a great YouTube channel and you should buy their books, by the way. They're probably not the best source for cardboard tutorials, though. I used thick paper meant for painting instead of cardboard for the mouth plate because I didn't think it needed to be that thick, but I did end up using 2 layers, so maybe it could have been done with cardboard, but I do like that I used paper because it looks smoother and less cardboardy. I kind of just taped it onto my face for now while I was figuring out the pattern. Duct tape is really great for getting precise patterns. I still had to try a few times to get it looking the way I wanted it to. Woo, here's me trying it on. And here it is with the still unfinished helmet. I made another layer and taped everything together. I also lined the mask with duct tape so the condensation from my breath wouldn't damage the paper. All I had to do now was finish the side thingies. I continued cutting up the mock-up so I could use it as a pattern. I tried to keep everything as simple as possible so I didn't have to cut out as many different pieces of cardboard, and so that there wouldn't be as many hot glue seams. I also labeled all the different pieces so I didn't get them mixed up and I could position everything right. Then I started cutting everything out. And I hot glued everything in place. While I was gluing it, I used duct tape to hold it in place before the glue was dry. I tried to make sure that as little glue as possible would be visible from the outside, but it's pretty hard to actually do that successfully. I did use a lot more glue on the inside than I did on the outside. Remember to stay hydrated. I went through an entire pack of glue sticks on this. As I'm editing this, I actually went back to listen to the original video footage, and I hoped to find funnies, but instead I found a nice conversation with my sister. That's pretty nice, I guess. Anyway, right here there's just a lot of me taping and gluing and waiting for hot glue to dry. As these videos go on, there's going to be a lot more of me skipping things. Something that I should mention is that I start using that cardboard bendy strategy again, where I am cutting lines in between the grooves of the cardboard so that it'll bend and curve more easily, because as you can see, this cardboard needs to bend into a very specific shape that would be very hard to achieve without doing this technique. I actually used a bit of duct tape to reinforce the piece. Oh, and also I'm eating Oreos. I think my sister brought those in. She also brought in a thing of ice cream. And you know what she did? She opened up the Oreo and put ice cream in between the cookies and put it back together. It is a very delicious dessert. It is, however, a bit too sweet, which is pretty amazing for someone like me to say because I have a crazy, insane sweet tooth. I finished thingy number 2, cut off all the hot glue strings, and tried the helmet on. After positioning the side thingies while the helmet was on my head, I taped and then glued everything into place. Then I had to touch some stuff up to make sure it was all perfectly even. I used the seams on the helmet as a guide. You can never use too much hot glue, at least in places where you're not going to see all the hot glue. You can also never eat too much ice cream. You can't see what I'm doing here because I am in fact an idiot, but I started to attach a string to my mouth plate so that instead of taping it to the helmet where it would just be static, it would move with my face so that it, moves when I talk like Soundwave. By the way, since this video is almost over, there's something I do need to address. The painting of this costume will be a separate video. As I said before, I don't have access to the paint at the moment. I am pretty sure I have some good spray paint, but it's definitely not enough, and I don't want to start painting only to discover that the new paint I get doesn't match. So yeah, look forward to the painting video that will hopefully come out before TFCon 2020. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's long, so good freaking job if you've come this far. I do think I've learned a bit about video editing from making this, so hopefully the next video will be more fun. Said next video will be the chest armor. Watch and learn how to make it look like you have a tape deck built into your chest. Seriously, I'm so proud of that part. I'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Bye! I feel like a true Decepticon. I'm bad at things. Decepticons are very bad at things.